Ex-Muslims claim to need support due to the dangers of the Islamic world threatening to kill them, yet they provide no statistical evidence whatsoever for this claim. At best, it is a bunch of anecdotes which could easily be construed as the behavior of extremists in foreign countries and not the wider population's attitudes towards ex-Muslims in the Islamic world. In short, ex-Muslims of the West make exaggerated claims about having their lives threatened so they can get donations while presenting themselves as perpetual victims in order to prevent any real criticism from coming their way. You would imagine that a group claiming to be in danger of Islamic jihadists wouldn't use the term jihadist so lightly or draw any moral equivalence to angry Twitter comments and claim that they are carrying the same weight as stories of ex-Muslims who suffer targeted assassinations or honor killings. Yet this is precisely what they have claimed following the Kalima controversy with Hindus that Armin Navabi desperately pushed in order to get Patreon donations to continue making money off anger and to increase his own publicity, since that is his only goal. The only thing he and the other ex-Muslims are interested in are spreading hatred, nihilism, and then acting like blameless victims who carry no responsibility for their own activities. In their worldview, they are never wrong. You can never criticize them, and if you do, then you're automatically assumed to be a bigot, because apparently only bigots can disagree with them, and they can label you as an idiot. They can label you as a jihadist, thus morally equating you to terrorists who kill innocent people. And they can accuse you of having mental problems just for disagreeing with them. And trust me, they attempt to do this in private as some sort of attempt at gaslighting. And it is pathetic. They can shout you down in their video debates and call you any number of accusations while presenting themselves as enlightened, presenting their arguments as never wrong, and presenting themselves essentially as an aggrieved minority group of enlightened heroes fighting against evil. Because apparently everyone who disagrees with them has hatred or is a bigot or has some sort of nefarious intention against them. Ex-Muslims claim to be open to challenging their views, but they never actually change any views of theirs and simply proclaim everyone else is wrong, or a bigot, or an idiot. If you disagree with them, you are simply regarded as wrong or stupid, and then they try to shout you down until you accept that you are either wrong or stupid compared to them, instead of challenging the criticisms that are given to them. I know this firsthand from attempting to have discussions with them which proved fruitless and were never civilized. The only conclusion that I've drawn from my personal experience with them is that Hindus and ex-Muslims, whether theist or atheist, will always have irreconcilable differences of opinion. And I doubt that's going to change anytime in the near future. Nevertheless, these current circumstances are good insofar as they show ex-Muslims for what they truly are. An unhinged hate group full of mental problems that have clearly been lying about threats to their lives from Islamists this entire time. In truth, they were never in any danger and lied about it to get Patreon donations. While it may be an issue on the fringes in the Islamic world, they've provided no statistical evidence to support that it is anything but odd anecdotal events that get excessive media attention precisely because they're so out of the norm, and thus they give a misapprehension that it is more normalized in the Islamic world as a problem. Some may think this is too much of a leap in logic, but I'd like to ask you all to think over a few questions that have led me to this conclusion. Please just think about these, because they bother me so much when I look at their attitude and behavior and the claims they make about what it's like to be an ex-Muslim. First, why would any rational human being who is actually in danger of being killed by Islamic extremists then morally equate being victims of targeted assassinations or penalties of death or honor killings with angry Twitter comments? Just think about that, because that is what they've done with this Kalima controversy. Why would they equate Twitter comments to that? If this issue is so serious, how could any rational person equate all of that they've claimed to have struggled and suffered against to Twitter comments? It makes no logical sense to me for any rational human being to do that. It doesn't make any sense. 2, if they weren't lying about the danger to scam people out of money, why wouldn't they focus their efforts exclusively on helping to support the human rights of fellow ex-Muslims who are presumably in danger in the Islamic world? One of the reasons I was hesitant to ever even criticize ex-Muslims, any ex-Muslim, was because they support the human rights protests of people like Sohail Arabi, who was apparently in danger. But now we're being told by these same ex-Muslims uniformly, with perhaps the exception of Apostate Prophet, because he actually has a conscience, but we are being told by these other ex-Muslims almost uniformly that the death penalty Sohail Arabi was facing is now morally equivalent to angry Twitter comments. Because that is essentially what they are claiming when they say Hindu jihadists. That terrorism, targeted assassinations, murderous beheadings for being the wrong religion, and so much that they've claimed they have been suffering from is morally equivalent to angry Twitter rage. So, why should the pleas of these ex-Muslims being in danger be seen as anything other than a lie? And by the way, Sohail Arabi's sentence was commuted back in 2015, so evidently there was no danger of him being killed by the Iranian government, and Armin Navabi exaggerated his case on Patreon to make money off of Sohail Arabi's suffering from his hunger strike. Finally, third, what is even the point of supporting ex-Muslim groups who make these social media campaigns in places like Twitter, and what impact do they really have statistically? Because according to Pew Research, only 10% of US Twitter users are responsible for 80% of the content that you see on Twitter. It is large enough to confuse people into a false consensus effect in thinking they're making a difference, and it's just small enough to be a completely wasted effort of time and resources because the impact is almost zilch. Why donate or even watch these videos when they're not actually helping get measurable results to gradually change anything for the better? It seems ex-Muslims, and I again omit Ridvan Idamir, the apostate prophet, of this, because I have not seen the same level of sheer anti-Hindu bigotry, or anti-Hindu bigotry at all, from Ridvan Idamir as I see from almost uniformly every other ex-Muslim activist on social media. But continuing on, it seems ex-Muslims, despite appearances of 20,000 to even 100,000 views, might just be shouting at the wind. So, if this behavior is having less impact than any of us realize, and is just a form of confirmation bias and false consensus effect. How is this behavior helping the human rights of anyone? The majority of ex-Muslims seem to try to label anyone who disagrees with them as bigoted, as full of hate, and they try to guilt people into supporting them by presenting themselves as like an endangered species, essentially. But it seems in truth, they just want money to continue projecting bigotry to everyone. And there was not as much danger as they claim. They seem to have exaggerated it for money. That is the only conclusion I can draw ethically, morally, and especially rationally from what I have seen of the behavior of Armin Navabi and mostly every other ex-Muslim group, especially ex-Muslims of North America, in uniformly supporting his behavior and antics. It doesn't make any sense rationally to do this if you are a human rights group. If the whole point is free speech, ex-Muslims have as much right for their Kali pictures, for their insults, for calling anyone an idiot or a jihadist. They have every right to do that in terms of the enlightenment value of free speech. And that enlightenment value of free speech and free expression and free inquiry also means we all have the right to self-censor ourselves, to block their hatred of us, and to block their hateful messages. You can try arguing with them, trying to get them to see reason, trying to get them to listen and treat you like a regular human being, the same way they treat each other ex-Muslims exclusively, but not non-ex-Muslims. But this attempt at reaching out to them will always be rebuked as a confirmation that you're a bigot for disagreeing with them. I'm not making that up. That is not an exaggeration. That is not a straw man. That is my own experience after trying repeatedly with several of them. So, the only recourse I would suggest is to block the hate forever. Block all ex-Muslims. It is already clear that they are not a serious human rights group, that they have never been serious about human rights, that they don't care about human rights of their fellow ex-Muslims if they really are in danger, as these ex-Muslims of the West claim. And it is clear that the differences we have from my interactions with them as a Hindu shows that Hindus and ex-Muslims have irreconcilable differences. That is all we have gained from any discourse at all. So my suggestion is block all ex-Muslims.